Here with head men's basketball coach Blake Mellinger ahead of their first road game this season. And yes, that's correct. We're 7 games into the season. You guys go on the road for the first time. Big win last night over Carolina University, 94-67. You guys get back a game above 500, back in the winning ways. And I think the way I really looked at it is maybe other than forcing turnovers, which you guys have done a lot of this season, but didn't particularly do last night, you did everything else well. And it was about as complete of a game in all areas from the team and from individual performances that we've seen this season. And you and I talked about it after the game. You seemed pretty happy that you guys met a lot of the goals that you set for that game.
Yeah, we really did. Particularly in the second half, I thought that was probably the best half we played so far this year, across the board. Again, we had 2 or 3 things that we were really focused on going into that game, coming out of the Wingate game last Saturday, and that was defensive rebounding, sharing the ball, and taking care of the basketball. So to do a pretty good job on the defensive boards, and then to have 26 assists to 6 turnovers was very pleasing.
One of the guys we talked about that headline the night was Carmelo Pacheco with a game-high 20 points, the highest in his early career so far. And it seems like every time he surpasses the previous career high that he set a couple games ago, we know it won't be long before he breaks it again. But the thing that you and I talked about post-game yesterday was the difference in this game for him, getting to the basket and scoring a little bit more there. You mentioned half of his buckets of the 8 that he made in the game were right at the rim pretty much. Obviously it was good to see that from him. I don't know if you saw his post-game comments. One thing that I thought was really interesting that he mentioned was that his shot hasn't been falling recently in the last couple of games. So he had a mindset of attacking the basket because his shot hadn't been working, and he still went 3 for 5 from downtown in the game. But for a guy who's a freshman and is, early on in his career, he's playing the most minutes of anybody on the team. It's clear he's got an understanding of the game that's well beyond his years.
Yeah, he really does. He's a freshman on paper, but really on paper only. Like he just, he does a lot of things really, really well. He's not like one of these guys that, that's one dimensional really on either side of the ball. Offensively, he can score in multiple ways. Like he doesn't have a turnover on the year. So he makes really good decisions, from a decision-making standpoint on the offensive side. And then defensively, like he has really good understanding that from a positioning standpoint. He guards the ball pretty well. He's got good size, good length to contest shots, and then he can rebound the ball a little bit. So no, really happy with the way he played last night. We're trying to get him to be more and more aggressive offensively because again, as I mentioned in the interview last night, like he can score in multiple ways. He can really shoot the ball, but he's not just a shooter. And I think I think last night he proved that.
Another guy who had a big performance last night that we did not talk about, haven't discussed yet, who we've discussed a lot this season, is Patrick Shelley. The sophomore guard-forward combo was 2 points shy and 2 rebounds shy of a triple-double. Would have been his first of his career after getting his first career double-double 2 games ago against Southern Wesleyan. He had 12 assists in that game. His previous career high in a game was 4. It's clear that he's rounding into this kind of monster for you guys that, we knew was always in there, and he's becoming a complete player right now.
Yeah, he really is. We were kind of aware of it last night. We weren't sure how close he was, so we thought he was like maybe 1 or 2 rebound shots. So we left him out there a little longer to see if he could get it. But of his 12 assists, I think he had 8 of those in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. So as I've mentioned on here before, like he's just a stat stuffer. He just impacts the game in so many different ways. And I think last night was just another example of that.
And he's a stat stuffer in the fact that it's meaningful stats that really help you guys towards a win. When he has a good game, none of them are empty stats or empty rebounds. They're all key, and he plays a big role in you guys finding a way to win games or at least be close.
Yeah, and not only that, like the areas where he was good were the same areas that we really emphasized coming out of that last game, like rebounding the ball, sharing the ball, taking care of the ball. Like he had 12 assists, and I think he only had 1 turnover, if I'm not mistaken, last night. So again, has a really good understanding of the game. He's only going to continue to get better and better. So, really happy with his performance last night.
So now you guys head on the road for the first time this season in a tough test for your first road game at Limestone, and not an easy place to play, a conference opponent, obviously. In practice today and tomorrow, has there been or will there be any message from the coaching staff or the players who have been here, maybe particularly ones that have played at Limestone, some of the guys who haven't, just what to expect on the road, what needs to be done, how to be prepared, anything about getting ready for the first road game of the year? Because it's been a while. You guys have seven home games to start the season.
Yeah, I think it's really more about our mindset than anything. We talked a little bit after the game last night, like going on the road, particularly going on the road in conference is just, it's just a different level of intensity. And, I think the biggest keys, like we got to go on the road and play with toughness and togetherness. I think that was the message we talked about last night. And a lot of that is just, you can look at it a lot of different ways. Is it physical toughness? Is it mental toughness? Like, I think all those things play into it, but I think it starts with the mental piece. And if you're ready to go mentally, the rest of the stuff kind of falls into place.
So Limestone's 1-4 on the season. They pick up their first win last night against a now 1-5 Belmont Abbey team that has played a couple of SAC opponents this season. This is going to be their conference opener for them. What have you seen from them on film or on paper? What are some keys to a victory on Saturday?
One, I think their record's really deceiving. Like they got one win, but their 4 losses have all come to 4 really good teams, and they've all been really close games. So, it's going to be a battle down there. There's no question about it. It usually is when we go there. So I think the keys for us, again, like have to take care of the basketball. They press quite a bit. So we've got to make really good decisions with the ball on the offensive end. We've got to keep the ball out of the paint. They've got 3 or 4 guys that can really put the ball on the floor and get to the paint, get to the rim. And then, we got to rebound again. Like that's their thing right now. That's something we've been really hitting on for the last, really since the beginning of the season. But, we've got to keep them off the offensive glass. They've got 2 or 3 guys that are really active on the offensive board. So I think those are going to be the 3 main factors that play into the outcome.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to the first road game of the season. Cavs and Saints in Gaffney, South Carolina. That's coming up at 4 p.m. You can catch it on WLSD 92.5 FM or AM 1220. Coach, we'll see you in Gaffney. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you.